In the next few minutes, we're going to build a complete trading strategy with AI, turn it into real PineScript code that we can actually plug right into TradingView, backtest it inside of TradingView, gather data on the strategy and its expected performance over a large series of trades, and then automate the strategy so that it can trade on our behalf without us having to touch anything when signals fire on TradingView. And the best part about all of this is that you do not need to know how to code anymore to do any of this. Because of AI, we are now able to literally create full-blown trading strategies, very detailed code, all by just telling AI what we want in the strategy, and then it makes the code that we need to do that thing. So if you've ever looked at AI trading strategies or automated trading and thought, man, that just seems a little bit out of my reach right now, I don't have the time to learn all that stuff, this video is going to simplify all of that. I'm going to walk you through the entire process step by step, starting from scratch, getting AI to create a trading strategy for us, plugging that into TradingView, analyzing the backtest, optimizing it to get to the point where hopefully it can be profitable, and then connecting it through AlphaInsider where we can forward test the strategy so we don't even have to automate it right away. We can actually see how it trades live for a period of time, and then from there easily connect our own broker so that it can trade for us. We're trying not to leave any stones unturned so that this way you don't feel like you have to jump right in. There's a bunch of steps in the process that you can try to understand before you take that next step, and that you can do this completely on your own time and when you feel comfortable. And I know it still might sound complicated, but as we walk through the workflow, it's going to be a lot more doable than you think. So let's start with building the strategy with AI. Okay, so I'm using ChatGPT. You can use Gemini, you can use Claude, you can use really whatever you want in this situation. They're all going to do a pretty good job. I've had pretty good success specifically with Chat, with Gemini and Claude in creating trading strategies in PineScript that I can easily import into TradingView. I'm prompting to build a simple trading strategy, essentially revolving around the 200 period moving average, simple moving average. Let's see what it comes up with, and then let's import that into TradingView. Okay, so the code is very simple, not a ton of lines, which we'll take that in a second and grab it. It gives you a bit of an explanation of how the thing works, a couple of notes. It's a long only strategy. And then we can add, it gives you a couple things we can add to make it better, which we'll come back to in just one second. I'd actually recommend you start with something simple like this, but again, you can go any route you want. I just have seen the 200 moving average work in a couple different strategies recently, and so it's on the top of my mind. So let's jump over to TradingView. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to the Pine editor, which is on the right-hand side of TradingView, and I'm going to pull this up, and I'm going to create a new strategy. And I'm going to copy, or I'm going to get rid of this code. I'm going to paste in the new code and then click add to chart. Let's see if it works or if we have any errors. Okay, this worked. The way you know it works is it populates the strategy report on the bottom of the screen. And then let's move this to the side. We'll come back and title this and save this in a minute, but let's just get this to a point where we are kind of happy with it. So what we can see is if we're scrolling back, we're on a 5-minute time frame for SPY. You got the after hours and pre-market hours on the screen. And then this is like the regular session right here. We're in regular session right now. And so you can see that it gets long when it goes above, and then it closes the order when we drop back below. Okay, fair, simple, so it looks simple enough. I don't want to trade this on a 5-minute time frame. I want to use this for more of a swing trading approach. So let's go with a daily time frame and see how this one works. So it looks like we are currently long, or the strategy would have been long back when we crossed above that 200 moving average. Looks like back in May of 2025, and we're getting close, but we've yet to cross below. And even if we do cross below, we are substantially higher than where we entered. So this would be locking in gains. However, it's possible that if we don't actually dip below that and we go back to the upside, that we stay long for a longer period of time. Last time we got on this situation or on this trade, the big move we had was right here, and we were long from, looks like 2023 into 2025. So a good period of time there. Now, what I want to do is jump down to the bottom of the screen of the strategy report. This is where things get a bit more interesting. So we can see this is clearly a winning strategy, like it's working. Now, this is definitely a swing trading strategy because it doesn't trade very often, and the time frames I'm using, this is much more of a swing trading strategy. But I can apply this to really anything or bring the time frames down if I really wanted to. And so what I see is I broaden this chart out, or I look at the bottom of our screen, you'll notice that we have a 33.03% win rate. So it's not a super high win rate, but a profit factor of 2.679, which means it's quite profitable. If you understand profit factors, that's pretty profitable. And a drawdown of 20%, and it's returned 654% since this dates back to 1994. Now, Does that beat what the S&P 500 has returned since 1994? Probably not. Because if you were to go back to 1994 and you pull up where we were back then to where we are right now, the S&P is up over 1,300%. So it's actually not outperforming the S&P. But sometimes, depending upon the strategy you're using, you're not necessarily looking for outperformance. You're looking for more of a consistency. And so it just depends on the time frame, depends on what you're looking for. And if it's something you can rely upon through bull, bear, all those types of markets. So this is great. I'm going to just go into the settings of the strategy really quick and just make sure it's customized. We have 100% of equity. That's fine. I'm going to leave this as is. Let's just start with $1,000 to make it simple. And let's just fill on bar close. And so it doesn't really change. Well, now at 543%. 22% actually does change the strategy, but not the profit factor dramatically. And the win or the drawdown stays about the same. Okay, I made a switch and I actually pulled up this exact same strategy, but trading Bitcoin. And we can see that dating back to 2015 looks like this is up 23,000%. Now, Bitcoin is also up a ton. So if we scroll down on the strategy report here and make this bigger, we can see the net P&L. And then we can see the strategy outperformance or underperformance. So in this case, the strategy or the buy and hold would actually have returned more. It would have returned 28,000% since the beginning of the time frame we're looking at, whereas this strategy actually wasn't as good as the buy and hold. So it's something worth comparing it to. Let's just really quickly try ETH. Let's try Ethereum versus the dollar. Here's one where you actually have outperformance. So this is actually a really good one to use, a really good example. So this actually made 76,000%. I know it's small here, but if I go to the top, you can see 76,000% dating back to 2017, 52% max draw, which is much more substantial, 31% profitable trades, and a very, very nice profit factor. But a lot of the trades or a lot of the money seemingly was made back in 2018 and 2021. But at the same time, those were pretty large or substantial bull markets for crypto. And so this is one of those strategies that just might actually be really good when we have those bull markets. And then it kind of just holds steady or has some smaller wins, smaller losses when we're not in a very clear bull market for crypto. So down here, we can see that the buy and hold return over this time span on ETH is actually 18,000%. And this is obviously up substantially more. So you would have had a better performance by using the strategy. So let's actually use the strategy on ETH. So great. This looks pretty good. We got a daily time frame we're looking. Let's just jump down to a 4-hour and see if it actually makes it any better. So let me just really quickly check back what we had. On the 1 day, we had a 76,000% 5.18 profit factor. On the 4-hour, 24,000% 1 point. So it's dramatically better on the daily time frame. 1 hour time frame, not nearly as good. If I zoom this up, you can see the performance just starts to get a little bit wonky. 30-minute time frame, profitable, but barely. 15-minute time frame, profitable, but not much. 5-minute time frame, and we bring it back to a 3. Go to a weekly time frame, profitable, but not a lot of trades, only 8 trades. Back to a daily, 29 trades. So still not a ton of trades here, but there's more, and it's clearly done very, very well. Essentially, where it really crushes back in 2021. If you go back to that period of time, back even in 2017, 2018 too, it looks like. But you had this essentially getting long when it crossed that 200 moving average back here, and then staying long for this entire run, and then falling back under here and getting out. And so when it did that, you essentially locked in a massive gain. So ETH back in here was literally under $200, and then up here, it was $2,000. So that's how you just absolutely crushed it, was back in 2021 or 2020 through 2021 when we had the huge gains. And since then, it's not done crazy. I mean, there's a big move we had back here in looks like 2025 from July back into November. That was a pretty substantial gain there. But if we even look at the list of trades, since then, right? So look at the trades here. If we just go back in time, it's made some big gains 2017 going into 2018 where it made $44,000 in that trade. And then it kind of just hangs around, has some losses, and then it had a big trade back in 2020, 2021 where it made $200,000. Now, of course, this is simulating the account getting larger and larger and larger as it makes more money. So the numbers are going to go up. Then it had a pretty big win back here where it made 130. Then it had, let's see, a 285 win right there. And then it had 194 here. But since then, it's just, taking on smaller losses, although the losses are getting bigger because the account's getting bigger, but percentage-wise, they're not as substantial as with the wins. So here's an example of a strategy that seemingly does pretty well, or has done pretty well based on how volatile crypto has been. Does it mean it's going to do well going forward? Not necessarily at all, because what we can see is, let's say crypto just chops. Like what if crypto just does this for the next 5, 6, 7 years. And you're going to see performance that's going to be, much more similar to the past. I don't know, go back to 2023. And yeah, okay, it's still up if we go back to 2023, but it's not up as much. Here's the example. Going back to 2023, it's up 86% with a 10% max drawdown. It's only taken 11 trades and it's profitable only 27% of the time. Again, still a very good profit factor. And if we zoom down or look further below here, it is outperforming the buy and hold, because since this period, or since the first of 2023, the buy and hold is only up 14%. So yes, it is outperforming the buy and hold. I'm going back to ChatGPT and I'm asking it to add the capability to short when the strategy goes under, or the signal goes under, the 200 period moving average. Before I copy it, let's see how it behaves. So cross above, enter long, cross below, enter short. When a new signal occurs, it closes the opposite position first, always in one position at a time, long or short. Great. So it's really just going to be playing the ups and the downs. Let's see if that actually improves the stats here. So let's go back to the entire history. Let's just see what this has. Again, it had a 76,000% gain across ETH, dating back to 2016, I believe. Put this in the Pine editor. All I'm going to do is copy over that and paste the new code. Click on this little refresh. I still have yet to save it or title it or anything. And now X out. Let's get back into this. So it's actually not as good on the daily time frame. We're only up 33,000%, which again sounds crazy, but it's not as good as the 70,000+ that we were on the last one, and the profitable trades, 26%. Now, this equity curve since 2021, actually not too shabby. It looks better. Prior to that, it didn't seem as clean. We can scroll down and look through. It is still outperforming the buy and hold, which is great, but not by as much. And we do have more trades. So if you do have a platform or on your crypto broker, if you're dealing with fees, you're going to have more fees, which we could also put into the backtest. So go to settings, and if I go to properties, I can add in commissions depending upon my broker. So that makes it a lot easier if we wanted to add that in there. But I also could go inside of here and I can change some things around. So let's actually go back to ChatGPT and say, hey, let me change around the SMA so I can test different periods. So this way, instead of now being stuck to that 200 moving average, I want to be able to change the moving average to different numbers, different time frames, essentially. So let's bring that in, go back in here, go to the Pine editor. I'm going to paste over that. We're going to put that in, and we're looking pretty good. Now, if you have any errors, which it's possible, all you've got to do is copy the error code that you get inside of the Pine script editor and then bring it back into ChatGPT. We haven't gotten one in this example. It's getting better. I'll tell you that. I've gotten less and less errors over the past couple of weeks and months that I've been using this. You just paste the error code that you get in there, or the error message, and it'll usually fix the code within a couple iterations. It's actually really, really cool. Update the report here, and nothing should change there, but now I'm going back to the input. So now it allows me to change the inputs. So the SMA length is 200. If I bring this in and I say, let's go and test the 50 SMA, let's see if it actually improves our stats here. Update the report. Again, we're looking at that 33,000. This actually does. Now it's at 43,000, but check this out right here. We have a lot more trades because the 50 SMA is kind of a bit tighter to price. But look at this. Since 2025, if I go back to what it's doing this past year, it's actually kind of crushing. Well, I shouldn't say crushing, but it's done pretty well. It's up 89% this past year. Max draw of 13. It's only had 2 winning trades, believe it or not, out of 8, but a very good profit factor. And it is beating the buy and hold because the buy and hold is down on this year so far. So inside of the choppiness that we've actually seen over the past year, the strategy seems to be doing pretty well based on the numbers we've been seeing. So that's interesting. So that's great. So let's bring this back out to the entire history. Cool. But now what we can do is just go back and forth, test different time frames. Let's go to 100 moving average, see how that does. It's going to probably trade a lot less, not a lot less, but it trades less. And this one, not nearly as good performance, and the drawdown really, really big. So that's not something we want to bother with. I'm just throwing numbers out there just to test things. Seriously, that's all I'm trying to do. Back to 200. Seems like the 200 is performing the best. Go to the 20 SMA. I don't know, I'm just testing that. It's going to cause a lot more trades. And whoa, really, really good. 230,000% gains, but a very high max drawdown. Profit factor is not that good because in this situation, yeah, you're making a lot of money because you're trading a lot more, but you've got a ton of trades. This equity curve is not as nice as I want, especially since 2021. It has not done as well. So it crushed it for a while, but since then, not so much. So to me, not something that I would want to mess with. I'm going to go bump this out to the 200 moving average and play this right there and bring this out. Not too shabby. Now, one other feature or that I think we should probably have inside of this, which we can't toggle between in this code is the ability to test long and short. So I'm going to go back in here and say, let me toggle long or short trades. This way I can test how it does just trading long, just trading short with the SMA. So let me grab that code again, bring it back to the Pine editor, paste over what we've got, refresh the page. All we're doing with this, if I update the report here, shouldn't change anything because I didn't change the settings. All we're doing is going to the settings and being able to enable long trades or enable short trades. Now, if I get rid of the short trades, we can see how it's doing, which this should improve. This actually does not improve the performance. It seems like when I toggle this button on or off, there are now no trades, which I know is not accurate. So let me just go back really quick, make sure this sets to 200. Yeah, we're good. Let me just make sure we edit this inside of this. So I gave it the problem that we're seeing. I said it worked in terms of running, but not in the application. And it goes, yep, the issue is in the toggle logic tied to the entry, but also needs to handle the exit. Okay, cool. So let's see if this code that the chat gave me works. Copy that, grab it. Here's where if you do know how to code or have a more of extensive background, you can kind of look this over and say like, does that look good to me? Yes. And you have a better understanding. But again, like not required in order for you to still do this nowadays because of how AI has evolved. So if I only take the short side, we can see that it's actually hurting me on this time frame. So I don't want to do that. That's actually not good. Only take the long side. We can see that we're up in this situation. Update the reports. We're up 76,000%. Awesome. Like that's what I want to be doing. So I know, okay, there's no reason to take both. Now, if I jump down, the way I would go about this is jump down to different time frames and see how this performs. So jumping down to the 50 period moving average, we actually have a better performance. It's a little choppier, but you know, this is where you can kind of mess around going in with the long and the short. Can we beat that? Looks like we're not going to beat it. And so it's telling me that, yeah, as of late, we're doing really well, but you know, it's telling me that it's probably just better for this to be a long only strategy. It just seems like it works better just going long. So with the current settings that I have. So I'll just leave it as enable long only. And what we're going to do is base it off the 50 period moving average. 48% drawdown. I don't love that, but let's jump down to, let's go to 100 moving average and see if that makes it any cleaner. So we lose some there. We have still a high drawdown. Let's jump to 150. Pretty good, but the profitable trades is still not great. Go to 200. It's tough to beat this right now. 30% I like. 50 draw, it's not great, but if you're willing to deal with the max draw for a strategy that seems to really perform very, very well in bull markets, you know, it's something that you could utilize. Okay, so in the case of this, this is where you can add so many other components. I want to just mention really quick, for the sake of the video, I'm not going to keep going because it will take us, we can literally sit here all day, which I will do. And I recommend you do because it's actually super, super cool to create literally any strategy you want. Like you want to go add RSI in here. You want to go add executions based off of engulfing candles, based off of fair value. You can literally create the code to do whatever you want and get as detailed, get as nitty gritty as you want when you're doing this. So for me, this is a working swing trading strategy that pretty much is long only. Well, it is based off what I have. It's long only. And if we're above the 200 moving average, like I want to be long and I want to ride it until we fall back below and just do that. Now, you can also maybe add profit targets. So if we hit a certain profit target, you just take the position off instead of waiting for it to come back down. You can add logic in there where after we maybe break above the 200 moving average, you want to see it hold the 50 moving average. And when it falls below the 50 moving average, then you get out so you can lock gains in that. Dude, there is so many possibilities. You can do whatever you want. It's so cool. So let's say you get to a point where you're happy, you have good numbers, you're feeling really good about what you've got. Great. We have the code. I'm going to go into PineScript and I'm going to save this as, let's title it first, right? We should probably title it. Rename it to long over 200 SMA. Okay, let's call that. Save it. We're saved. We're good. I don't have to click on publish. That'll make it public on TradingView. But what we want to do now is we want to bring this into a real world tracking or a real world forward testing environment. So the reason why I say that is because this strategy doesn't trade too much. So if you look at what it's done since 2025, it's actually taken a couple of trades. So it's not like the best example where we can say, okay, well, let's forward test this for the next 6 months and see how it does. And then we'll go automate it live once we feel confident. I mean, you could do that. but you might only have 3 trades in the next 6 months. And if you only have 3 trades, is that enough data to base, it's tough. It's tough to say, right? Because you can just catch it when it's like losing for a few trades and then it has a big win and you miss it. And then it's like, well, now what do I do? So if we trust this backtest and we say, okay, I feel pretty confident about the backtest, I want to bring this in live, or I want to at least test it first and then automate it. The best place to do that is going to be on AlphaInsider. So on AlphaInsider, every single strategy on the site is essentially being forward tested live, where we've taken essentially a strategy from TradingView, and not all of them are from TradingView now, but a lot of them are. And what happens is when a signal fires and essentially a trade gets triggered on the back testing software that we were seeing, but let's say that happens in the future now, the trade gets tracked by a third party, we match the current time and price, and then we'll then see until the next signal comes when it gets long, short, buy, sell, enter, exit, whatever it's doing. We're going to wait, and then we're going to match that, and we're going to track it over time. So with this Noro's trend MA strategy, it might be even similar to what we're trading. We can see that it's up 154%. We can see what it's actually been trading ETH. Cool. And we can see all the trades over time and how it's performed. The reason why it's important is because if you have a strategy that trades more frequently, what you can do is you can now track its performance on AlphaInsider without even automating it yet. So you don't have to like take the risk of like, all right, I'm going to just go all in, automate this now and just see what happens. No, we can track it to see how it actually trades, because a backtest could lie to you. There's things like repainting, which we have an entire video on. I will leave a link. If not, it's on the channel already. You can just type in repainting in the search bar and you'll actually see a video that details what repainting actually is, why it's important, or why it can throw off the backtest. And even though we might not be repainting, we are just looking at this backtest is just based off of a series of trades, based off of the scenario we had in the market. There could be infinite new market scenarios, new market environments going forward. And so ideally, we would want to see how this is trading in the current environment. And if it's still holding up, great. Well, maybe now we'll bring this in and we'll automate it. But we're kind of skeptical early on. So that's where things can get a little bit shaky. And that's why the whole forward testing is really cool. So anything on AlphaInsider, by the way, I should also let you know, if you are like, I don't want to pay for TradingView Premium, I don't know how to do all this stuff, it's too complicated, I don't want to make the code, which I tell you right now, if you're into this stuff, if you are a nerd when it comes to trading strategies, it's probably worth your while to start messing around and building out strategies. But even if you don't want to do that, a ton of people have actually done that already for us. And we are literally watching their trading strategies on AlphaInsider. And you can follow these, subscribe to them, get trade alerts to trade manually, or even automate these for yourself with your own money in your own broker. That's the next step. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to our portfolio on AlphaInsider. It is free to make an account. It is free to do this. We'll go to our portfolio. And what I'm doing right now is a lot of things I'm actually in testing. So I've actually created a ton of trading strategies as of late that I'm just now testing. And am I confident to trade them live? No. So I'm going to do is let them sit here for a while, get me a pretty good sample size of trades, go back to my back test, see how the back test was, see how live performance was, see if everything is matching up. And if it's not matching up the way that I want, well, then maybe we have to fix a strategy, edit it, or we don't want to use that one. We'll toss it, try something else. That's kind of like the situation, at least the way my brain is thinking. Right now, we're in a pretty volatile time as I film the video, but you'll go down to here where it says new strategy and you'll name the strategy. I'm going to call it 200 SMA long only. I'll leave the description blank for now. The starting balance is just hypothetical, so we can watch it trade over time. Are we going to designate it for crypto or for stocks? Well, based off the backtest that I saw, we're going to go crypto because I was using ETH. I can make it public, private, or paid. If you don't have a higher tier AlphaInsider plan, I believe you'll have to make it public for now. But if you do want to make it private, that's where you can upgrade your plan so no one can see it. Is it a huge deal? No, off the bat. But it could be a situation where like you don't want anyone to see what you're doing and you kind of want to do this yourself, keep it quiet. That's where the private strategies might make sense. So I'm going to leave mine public for now and I'll click on create. So all it's going to do is just create a new page that looks like this. It's going to be completely blank. It's what you'll see when you click on any strategy on the site. And now what I have to do is connect what I had on TradingView over to here so that now I can take all of the trades that are firing on TradingView, all those signals, and send them to AlphaInsider so we can have them tracked by the third party. I'm going to need a couple things, but let's go back to TradingView. I'm going to find my SMA strategy on my screen on TradingView. I'm going to go across to where the 3 dots are, where it says more, and then click on add alerts. on this add alert, I'm now going to see the condition, which is the strategy, the time interval, same as chart, which is the 1 day. I'm going to keep it as open-ended, which means it will not expire until I cancel it. That's just because I can do that with my plan of TradingView. You might not have that ability. So if you don't have that ability and you don't want to pay for the next tier up to do so, you might just have to come back and reset these alerts every so often. But that's again up to you. We're going to go to where it says message. We're going to have to edit this. I'll come back to that. We're going to go to the notifications, the app and webhook section, and we're going to have to edit this. Let's start with the webhook URL under the notifications. So I'm going to go back to AlphaInsider. I'm actually going to scroll down to the bottom of the screen and see where we have this resources section. I'm going to open a new tab with the resources section and then click on this button that says connect to TradingView. What you're going to find here is you're going to find the webhook URL that we need. So we're going to copy that webhook URL and we're going to paste that into the webhook URL right here on TradingView. Make sure we're good. Notify an app if you want notifications. I'll leave it on for now. And then we're going to go back in here and we're going to go to the message. Back to this page on AlphaInsider. Here is the message, number 3. Step 3, copy that. And we're going to paste that into the message here on TradingView. I'm going to name the alert, call it SMA long only. But now we need the strategy ID, the stock ID, the amount of leverage you want to use, and the API token. These are the final 4 steps that are going to get a signal that fires here on TradingView, populating our chart and populating the strategy on AlphaInsider. Again, this does not mean that we are trading it live. It does not mean that we're trading with any of our own money. We're now just forward testing it here. The final piece will be when we click on this auto trade button, and that auto trade button is how we connect our broker, which is super simple. And I'll walk you through that here in just 1 second. But if we go on to our trading strategy that is blank, and we start messing around day, week, month, year, what you're going to find is this URL changes and it says time frame year, time frame 5 year, time frame 1 month, etc. If you go to the 1 year, you're going to find the strategy ID to be all of the characters after the slash. So again, in this situation, it is starting with a 0, V8, all the way until the Y. Copy that from the URL, and we're going to take that and we're going to paste it inside of the quotes where it says strategy ID on TradingView. Make sure we leave the quotes on the beginning and the end. And so we put everything right inside on that. If it says time frame on the URL after, all I would do is on the URL after strategy slash, and then there's the numbers, letters, etc. I'm going to copy everything, not including the slash, the first character after the slash, all the way up until the character right before the question mark that starts the time frame. So that's what I'm going to grab. So again, it's everything after the slash and before the question mark if you're looking at the time frame and you can't get that off your screen. But if you go back to the 1 year, I'm seeing nothing there. So I'm just going to grab everything after the slash, and that is the strategy ID. Next is going to be the stock ID. So what you're trying to trade. So in the case of my example, we were trading Ethereum. So I'm going to go down to this trade timeline and I'm going to type in ETH, and we have ETH on Coinbase, ETH : Coinbase. That is the stock ID. Make sure that stock ID matches up with the chart that you're using. So I'm using, if I go back to my TradingView chart at the top left, Ethereum / US dollar 1 day on Coinbase. That is ETH US dollar on Coinbase. That is now what I'm going to put on the stock ID. So go back to that strategy, back to that new order section, copy ETH : Coinbase, paste it into the stock ID. Leave the action the same, nothing to touch there. Leverage, we can go between 1 and 2. I'm going to leave it at 1. We can actually set leverage on our trading bot later on AlphaInsider. So I'm going to leave it as 1 for now. And then the API token, when I go back to AlphaInsider, if I click on the settings option and then go to developers, you actually can manage API keys right here. I've actually created a couple API keys, so I'm going to use one that I already have. Once you make one, you actually don't need to make any more, unless it's for a different permission. So in this case, to create a new API key, we're going to name it. For example, let's just call it TradingView. The permissions, all I have to do is select TradingView here, and it will give it 2 permissions just to check what those are, under trades and webhooks. If we maybe mess things up and we click on some buttons, click on clear all, go back to TradingView, it should have 2 selected, and that's it. Enter your password for AlphaInsider, then click create key. Save that key so you can use it for more of these in the future. If you ever want to automate and bring in more strategies, save those keys, and now we can utilize them down the road. Because once we click on the copy button of the key, like we can't go inside of here and open up the key, like it's no longer there. We just have to have it. So If you have to make a new one, not a big deal. You can always make a new one. It's fine. But just save it if you want to use the same one over and over. I'm going to paste the API key where it says API token. Make sure, again, quotes the beginning and the end, and then there's a bracket at the bottom there, bracket at the top. Once we have that, we are good to go. Time frame is correct. Everything is correct. We're looking at the asset that we want to trade, the specific asset we want to trade. Then I'm going to click on apply, and then I'm going to click on create. And I'll go up to the top right of my trading view to this little alerts icon, this little clock thing. And we should see our SMA long only is now active. Great. So now anytime or the next time a trade fires, which if we look at the chart right now really quick, we shouldn't see much happening because we're nowhere near the moving average. It's all the way up here. So we're not going to have a trade until we get back to that moving average, or that moving average comes down and we eventually cross it. So there's no trades to be had, at least as of right now. Now, looking back, if this was not long only and it was a short and long, we would have taken a short trade right here as we cross below the moving average. And then what would have happened is we would actually still be in that trade because we have yet to come back to it. But we don't have that setting because, again, it didn't look that great going back over time. But what happens, though, we can see a lot of trades when we get to that near that moving average, because we're crossing up and down, up and down. So we're kind of like playing a lot of games. But then eventually we finally make that decision and move up. We tend to capture a substantial move. So that's why we have a lot of losers, but they're small and the winners tend to be big. Okay, so now that we have this, let's say that we now want to automate these trades with a broker. So we don't have to do this. We can just do it hands off and say, I trust this, the back test. Let's just rip it. Great. Go up to where it says auto trade. And now you'll have the option, if it's a crypto strategy, which this one is, to connect to 3 different crypto brokers. At least as of right now, this may expand in the future. Just stay tuned for that. Hyperliquid, Bitfinex, and Binance. I highly recommend Hyperliquid. Decentralized, no KYC, $100 minimum deposit, which allows you to get going right away. I think it's sweet. We have a video showing you how to connect to Hyperliquid or Bitfinex or Binance. If you are confused about how to do that, we have a video walking you through. I'd recommend that you create new accounts for this just to make it simple. It makes it way easier. And once you do this, do not manually trade inside of your trading bot accounts. It's going to make it complicated, can throw things off, and we don't want that to happen. So just let it just do its own thing. Make your trading bot account separate or your automation separate. You don't do it. No manual trades, all hands off, let it do its thing. In my case, I already have a Hyperliquid bot. So I would go over here, use my current live one. And then it's going to bring you to a page that says update bot allocations. I actually have a Telegram strategy, which essentially all I do is I talk into Telegram, or I type in Telegram what I want my bot to do. Buy Bitcoin, buy Ethereum, short this, short that, go long, short, whatever I want it to do. And it does all of it. It deciphers it and places all the trades for me. So I can have like 7 trades at the same exact time that I want, and it'll do it all for me. So that's why I have 100% allocated to. In your case, if you're brand new, it's your first automation, it's going to have only one. So the 200 moving average will be your only one you see in here. And now you can set your entire account to trade it. 0, 1, whatever. Between 0 and 100% essentially. So let's say that I wanted to use my entire account. I put maybe a couple $100, which is what I did when I started out, a couple $100 into Hyperliquid. And I said, hey, let's just go all in, trade this entire strategy fully for me. That's what I did. I'll show you how it looks with the TC bot. Click on save, and then it will bring you to your Hyperliquid trading bot. You'll see your portfolio value. You'll see how it's performed over time. Go back over the past couple of weeks. We can see how it's done, and we can watch the performance. See, I started this account with, looks like $269, and now it's at 406. So we're doing really, really well if you go back over time. But we can watch how it trades, and we can easily edit our allocations. We can bring in new strategies, new allocations right here, and edit this. And then the final piece is up in the settings where we can actually add leverage. So I currently have mine on 8x leverage. That might be really aggressive for you. It might not, just depending upon your account size. I have it set to 8x leverage. I'm kind of testing some stuff out, but here's where you can really mess around and increase your leverage up to 10x. If this button is red, you'll click on it. It'll turn green, which then means your bot is now on. It's going to be now waiting and watching for new trades to take. Or if on your trading strategy, there's already currently active live trades, it's going to rebalance your portfolio or your account to take those trades based on the percentages that you've set up on your allocations. Now you're good to go. You can literally sit back, relax, and every trade that we've just set up that fires. So next time we come up to that 200 moving average, when it fires on ETH, it's going to trade for you on your behalf. And all you got to do is maybe check in from time to time, make sure things are running properly. And as long as they are, you are good to go. If you've got any questions about this entire process from step 1, from building the strategy out on TradingView, building it with whether it's ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, any AI, LLM, whatever you're doing, Leave those questions in the comment section down below. I'd imagine the more complex stuff deals with AlphaInsider as we get that connection going. But if you have any questions, leave them down below. We will respond to those questions, and hopefully you can start taking advantage of AI and automations and trading bots, because I believe it's the way of the future. Thanks so much. We'll leave a link to AlphaInsider below. See you next time.